Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared, and this is an amazing, amazing knife. I've been extremely impressed with this knife. Now, we do have a spear point 20 CV blade here. You could call it a drop point if you really want to. Beautiful satin finish that rides all the way up, even up to the top of the swedge. It looks so gorgeous. And this is such a useful blade shape. We'll get into that. Titanium frame lock with an orange peel finish. Now, what's the benefits of an orange peel finish? The benefits are it's extremely durable, extremely scratch resistant. It makes it to where it's a knife that you can kind of toss around and not have to worry about so much. And they even did it on the clip. Now, a lot of clips on the knives you carry wind up getting scratches and scuffs and this and that. This clip is going to be very resilient, very, very resilient. And they inset it into the scale, which is very nice. So it works very well. We'll get into that too. The action, this action, man, it is glassy smooth. But it is riding on ceramic caged bearings in the pivot, and it does have a ceramic detent. However, it almost feels like slick washers. If you've ever had a very, very smooth washer knife, it kind of feels like that while still being on bearings. So the lock bar, easy to access. They didn't really give you much of a cutout, but it's still very easy to access. And the smoothness on the drop, it's very, very smooth, not fall shut or anything like that, but it's drop shutty. You know, a couple little shakes and she's shut. And you can easily just give it one good shake and it's all the way shut. Now, the detent is nice and early right there. So it's always past the detent when you do unlock it. And the thumb studs are well placed. They are close to the scale, but they're up a little bit higher than the scale. So it's very easy, just natural when it's in your hand to just find those thumb studs. The thumb studs are very easy to locate even on the reverse flick. So extremely easy to deploy with the thumb studs. Then you have the jimping on the front flipper that is very grippy, very easy to use. I can even do the little finger trick right there. I can do the reach around, and the thumb deployment is very nice. Now, normally I wish they would have put jimping all the way up to the top peak, but this jimping is very well done and very easy. It's very grippy for not having jimping all the way up to the very, very corner. So it works incredible. It works very, very well. T8 construction. Love to see that. Nice big hardware. Very easy to take down and take apart. We do have a steel lock bar insert right here and an over travel stop, so you don't have to worry about unspringing your lock. The lockup is very, very solid. I mean, this thing is incredibly solid. It is it's an expensive knife. It's not cheap by no means, but you feel the quality in it, which I really like. And it is a Ray Laconico designs, and Ray Laconico does make iconic designs. I mean, just very simple designs. If you're looking for something a little bit more expensive and you want to get your money's worth, this is a great, great option. And it comes in a couple different options as well. You can get this with a carbon fiber version, which is carbon fiber on one side, titanium on the other, or just the all titanium, which is what I prefer. Now, it does have lots of milling on the inside, so the weight is very, very nice. Now, the cutting performance and ergos, it is super comfortable in the hand. Very, very comfortable. I do feel the clip because it's a deep carry clip, but it's comfortable. And it works out really good in the hand. It is contoured slightly, not like heavily contoured, but slightly. But it's it's very appropriate for the geometry, nice and thin behind the edge. I measured mine, I believe, around 14 thousandths behind the edge, and it is a flat grind, so it's not going to be a thin hollow grind. It is a flat grind, but since it is so thin behind the edge and the blade stock thickness is nice and thin, this thing cuts like a champ. It cuts very, very well. Slicing and cutting is incredible. Utility cuts also really good and very easy to get to a utility cut. The way the grip works on this, you can slice and get right to a utility cut very, very naturally, very easily. The ergos are just very neutral in the hand. Now, the sharpening choil, very, very nice. They did the plunge grind perfect, so you have plenty of life for sharpening and reprofiling without it affecting the look or anything like that. Now the clip and carry, this carries so good. It's a joy to carry. One, it sits very, very deep and there's nothing in the way, and the clip works very, very nice in and out of the pocket. Very, very nice clip and carry, and you know, the size and the weight and everything, it's just perfect. Now, if I was going to talk about some negative things, you know, there's not much here, but I can come up with a couple. One, if you look at the finish on this, when I tilt it like this, you can see like stripes. It's almost like when they milled this. I can't feel it, but I can see it. It's like, I don't know, something to do with the finish or the machining. It left little lines in it. I don't know, but it's not bad. I mean, it's not horrible. Like I said, I don't feel it or anything, but I can see it. Next thing, they did do the screws from one side through the back spacer. Oh yeah, I forgot to say there's a lanyard hole. Lanyard pin, sorry. Great place to put it though. But they put the screws through on one side, so if these strip out, you're kind of screwed. No pun intended. But it's you kind of want to have two screws going in, but you know, it's not that big of a deal. You just want to be careful when you take it apart. Now, if I look deeper into this, you can see how this one kind of pokes up and is rounded at the top. But you can also kind of see that last little thread. And then if you look at this one, the one all the way down at the end, it's inset, or it didn't come all the way through. And you can kind of see the last thread there. So, you know, they don't really match perfectly. Some people would nitpick crazy about that, especially for this price point, but it's not that big of a deal, but you know, I see it. Next thing. Now, this next thing isn't that big of a deal, but some people would say, not me, but maybe one of you, that the clip is kind of out of place. Yes, it's a titanium milled clip, or a titanium spring clip, whatever you want to call it. It's titanium. But I think a lot of people would prefer a titanium milled pocket clip, not a spring clip, because this is kind of like the same shape as they would put on budget knives. However, it works so good that I don't want to complain, because it's such a good clip in and out of the pocket that, you know, how can you complain when it's working so good? Now, don't get me wrong, there are some insanely good milled pocket clips, and maybe that would have looked a little bit more appropriate on this model. You know, me personally, I don't really think it looks that bad. I think it does kind of go with the flow, but a lot of people I know think that these clips look cheap on, not a lot of people, but some people think they look cheap on a beautiful knife like this. It should have a milled pocket clip. Next thing, the stop pin. It winds up landing back here. Now, it's okay on this, only because they did give you a good amount of sharpening, but it does wind up landing right here. It lands in the thick part of the metal. You can see it right there where it lands. Now, it winds up landing in the thick part of the metal. At least they didn't make it land right there, which would be a serious issue with sharpening. So they did make it land right there. So you're going to get a lot of sharpenings before it'll ever become an issue, if ever. It probably won't ever become an issue. But let's say you did sharpen the heck out of this thing. And I mean, you've just sharpened the life out of it. And the sharpening's all the way up to here. And now you don't want to smile. It's going to be difficult for you to put in your own sharpening choil. However, that's probably not going to happen. So, you know, it's just one of those things. If you did want to add a sharpening choil, it's going to be more difficult because where the stop pin lands. I personally would just rather see an internal stop pin or a stop pin up top. Keep it out of the way from the choil so that I have options in the future. Say if I break the tip off and I want to remove a bunch of steel and now my blade isn't as tall, I still can do that, or I can still add in a choil if I want to in the future. And a regrind and all that good stuff in the future. You never know where you might take your knife in the future. Now, all in all, man, this thing is such a good knife. It's so easy to deploy and use. It's so just an incredible knife, and it's a good looking knife. That's another thing. You know, the thumb start action is so good on it, and it feels very, very solid. I mean, it is very solid, but I mean, it feels like a quality knife. And that's one thing I really appreciate about it, is that it feels like a really good value. It feels like good quality. So there you guys go. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.